It's difficult to articulate what makes Sky special compared to other games. If you've ever had a profound dream that shifted something in you, but found when you tried to explain it to a friend, it didn't carry the same weight, you'll know what I mean. That's kind of what Sky is. When discussing most games, one merely needs to break their video into parts talking about story, graphics, gameplay, the stuff you'd see anywhere. And yes, of course, despite this, every game will have an X factor that cannot be completely expressed through a video, but by God if this isn't the ultimate example of that. Despite this, I will try. I was very surprised when that game company reached out to me for a sponsored video in the first place, because the last time I talked about Sky I was fairly critical about some parts of the game. Over time, however, some of the issues I raised were addressed, and now come 2025, here we are. I give them a lot of credit for not only being willing to collaborate on this despite that, but addressing some of the concerns I discussed in 2023. I already had a script about Sky's ending in the works, so their offer was timed surprisingly well. In this video, I'll give you the contours of what I think makes the game special, including its surprisingly dark finale. This darker side to Sky reveals itself slowly over time. To appreciate the shift in tone, the importance of social connections between players, and why my girlfriend won't let me wear this hat, we'll need to see how things start off. There's been numerous updates over the recent months, so even if you're familiar with Sky, you could see something new here. The way I discovered Sky was weird. I first found it on the App Store years ago and downloaded it merely because I love flying in video games, and I'd heard this was a spiritual successor to that game company's other title, Journey, where you could do just that. Journey, but you have the ability to fly all the time? Sign me up. I had also just gotten a controller that wrapped comfortably around my phone, so I was looking for stuff to test it on. Now, spoilers, you can fly in Sky, and absolutely, it did, and does, feel good. I did not expect this game to not only be an MMO, to not only be as feature complete as it is despite starting as a mobile-only game, but to elegantly cement itself as one of my favorite cozy games so effortlessly and quickly. Daylight Prairie is honestly one of the most welcoming areas I've seen in a video game. It also acts as a whirlwind tour of what Sky excels at. Sky's creamy white clouds and shimmering grass floors are inviting beyond what words can describe, but that's already apparent in the footage you're seeing. What's less obvious is the hijinks you can get into with other Sky children. If you haven't already, you'll likely stumble into another player here and discover one of the better parts of this MMO. There's a playfulness to this game's nonverbal interactions I've never quite seen anywhere else. Unless you're sitting on a bench, you can't actually have a written conversation with another player until you've upgraded your friendship tree. Moreover, you won't see what they truly look like until you mutually light your candles next to one another. On the surface, this seems like an unnecessary barrier to communication. Yet spending time with it reveals more lively ways to communicate. Extending your hands to tell a new player you're there to help, messing around with the most comical emotes you can find, or even just honking, to name a few. These moments sound small, and perhaps they are, but it's through them you'll have great stories to tell, even after only a short time in this world. It's also here that you'll discover some new NPCs. You'll help spirits to unlock cosmetics and emotes for your character. The amount of customization is kind of staggering. Personally, I tried to make my character look like my OC. This includes this hat, which my girlfriend absolutely hates. If I'm not wearing it before the video is over, you'll know she's seen this footage. Relatively new to Sky is the ability to dye your cape. Pretty sweet. So where is this all leading? What is the quote-unquote end of this game? How does an MMO have an end at all? Well, after finishing the 6 main areas, you'll find yourself in front of a door that leads to the Eye of Eden, a place dredged in giant dark dragons, tons of struggling sky moths, and an annoying amount of debris. The trek through its winding stairs and dark mountainsides is arduous, but conjoining with other players does make it easier. Its ruinous buildings and terrifying creatures leave a harsh first impression, but they are by all means what you can expect from here. It's not exactly short either, especially when you haven't made the journey before. Hugging the rim of a building while the storm viciously tugs at your cape as if the world is conspiring to take you away from this place stands in stark contrast to everything we've seen. It's only after dodging more of the dark dragons and collecting winged light that you'll begin the final stretch of Eden. Here, thousands of tiny rocks crash against the ground, pushing you back like an earthy tidal wave. Your goal now is simple: sacrifice your winged light to free the frozen spirits. And yes, this does mean compromising your ability to fly. Nowhere is the game's reliance on other players more poignant than at the very end when you walk hand in hand with a friend directly into that wall of wind, throwing your own safety to free others. The first time I played this part of Sky, I was genuinely scared for what would happen. Watching my hard-earned winged light dissipate while stone eroded my character brought me existential dread, and before long, it was completely over. When looked at carefully, it seems as if death was always going to be where Sky ended. The main areas all reference the cycle of life: birth, childhood, teen years, adulthood, old age, even older age. Freeing others was certainly noble, but all it gets you is a morbid end. Is Sky really so nihilistic? You awaken in a field of black, nothing save for a distant glowing figure, yet it's no stranger, merely a part of you finding itself again. You're made whole, and the world splits. What follows is a dizzying array of swirling clouds, collapsing architecture, and the Disney logo. Sky's ending is a complete misdirect. Between Eden's intimidating design and scary music, it feels like things will crescendo in tragedy. However, the finale is treated more like a celebration. The two words ringing in my head when I did this part for the first time were victory lap. The very first person I interacted with in Sky was named Uno. Now, obviously that's not their real name. Actually, that's not even their fake name. See, oddly, when you add other players, you decide what they're called. As you've likely surmised, because they were the first player on my friends list, I named them that. Despite this, me and Uno have never spoken. We have, however, flied together, gathered candlelight, and freed spirits hand in hand. In addition, because their name is tied to how we met, I'll never quite forget how they got on my friends list in the first place. Now, I'm not going to tell you me and Uno are best buds or anything, but my dynamic with them is easily stronger than most casual friendships I have in MMOs, and it's in large part due to how Sky handles friendship on a fundamental level. And if I'm being completely honest, the last thought of my Sky Kid's mind as he became encased in stone and dark was, am I gonna see Uno again? There are no shortage of video games that change their atmosphere towards the latter end of a playthrough now, curating an entire world before taking it out from under you. At best, it pays off everything the story set up, working with what was established to give you a natural, albeit unexpected change of scenery. At worst, it feels cheap, an almost desperate attempt to get the player to care by changing everything for no reason. It goes without saying, but often these twists don't matter if the player isn't invested in the first place. Despite Sky's glowing grass fields, friendly community, and bustling NPCs, its dark ending feels like a very organic conclusion to its setting. The parts of life it celebrates are so perfectly adjacent to the parts we fear that including them never feels out of place. I also have to give the game props for making me care so much about the world with just the world itself. You could ignore every NPC in this game, you could even isolate yourself from other players if you wanted. You'll still get a formal attachment to this place, and genuine fear when doing the ending for the first time. Eden is perhaps the most infamous place in Sky, but it'd be even more so if you stayed dead. Eventually, and thankfully, the stars give way to calm. The spirits you freed greet you at what feels like the tail end of the universe. It's here you'll garner ascended candles, the game's best currency, and a requirement for getting to the greatest parts of the friendship tree. Heading through the door at the far end reveals your journey isn't over. Rebirth brings you back to the world of Sky. Provided you give your ascended candles to NPCs on your next playthrough, you'll be able to start the game with a higher baseline wing level, meaning you can get more quote-unquote jumps than you could on prior runs. The process of Rebirth in its finale is a clever way for the game to fold back in on itself, giving players a form of progression while also paying tribute to its own themes. Eden can wring as much winged light out of players as it wants, Experienced sky moths will still know the locations for most of them now, and more easily help new players find them faster. It's natural credence towards the game's celebration of connectivity, whereas most MMOs bring out the most volatile, toxic behavior you can fathom. Sky tugs at the heartstrings, bringing out the greatest parts of the human condition. It's almost like the opposite of social media, a demonstration that anonymity isn't always something scary. Thanks again to that game company for sponsoring this video. Again, Sky is available on Switch, PC, iOS, Android, and PlayStations 4 and 5.